As a 30-something with no kids, one niece, and one nephew, I relate to Charlotte a lot. I'm the spinster aunt. Every family has one. So let's talk about Charlotte and her mother. Charlotte is the youngest of her mother's children and the only girl. So she has basically been charged with being her mother's late in life companion and taking care of her mother. Her sister-in-law Tina thinks she's on the verge of a nervous breakdown, so she has her doctor, Dr. Jackwith, visit. Now, after Charlotte's mama tells a rousing story about Charlotte being an ugly duckling, they ask her very kindly to not refer to Dr. Jackwith as a doctor in front of Charlotte so they can have a good conversation. Her mom immediately calls him a doctor and asks Charlotte if she's on the verge of a nervous breakdown. So the good doctor asks to see Charlotte's room. He goes up there with her for a little bit, and she freaks out. She does freak out. He tells her, hey, you all right? I'm going to just go back downstairs. When he gets back downstairs, Charlotte's mom was like, see, she's okay. Ma'am, your daughter about to have a nervous breakdown in about 2 seconds, and it's your fault. She has a nervous breakdown about 2 seconds after that. So they go ahead and take her to the little sanatorium resting place so she can paint and breathe. After a few weeks, she doing good enough to go home. The girl don't even actually need glasses. They just had her wearing glasses just cause. Well, she can go home. She don't want to go home. So Tina and Dr. Jackwith got a little surprise from my girl. Charlotte's getting on a boat. She gets to meet some people, feel a little bit independent, get a little bit of extra time away from home from her crazy mama. And baby girl goes from saddie to baddie. Wait, let me show you the full fit. Baby girl got the brows together and everything. There's another single writer named Jeremiah DeVoe Durrance, or J.D. Durrance, or his friends call him Jerry. But he asks if he can share a carriage with her, and on the advice of her therapist saying that she should meet new people, she says, yeah, you can sit down, we can chat. But they end up having casual conversation, and he tells her about his wife and his child, Tina. Well, she pulls out a photo album and shows him her family. And he like, who that fat lady with the eyebrows and the glasses? And where are you? Are you taking a picture? And she like, well, I'm the fat lady with the eyebrows and the glasses. And I just got out of a sanatorium, and I still need a moment. Well, who cares what she used to look like? She fine now. And plus, he married with a baby. They just friends, so they just hanging out. And he does buy her a bottle of perfume as a thank you for hanging out and asks her to come to dinner later that night. At dinner, he mentions the fritillaries or butterflies on her jacket, at which time she reveals that the jacket ain't really hers. It's Miss Beauchamp's, which is also the person whose place she took on this cruise who couldn't come at the last minute. And of course, he thinks that her borrowed wings are beautiful. They run into a couple of his friends, and on the ship, she's basically been going by the name Renee Beauchamp because that's the name of the person whose trip she took on the passenger list. Some people have just been referring to her as Mrs. Beauchamp, and she hasn't bothered to correct them because she's kind of shy. Well, he doesn't want to call her Renee, but he introduces her as Miss Beauchamp, and when they ask her if she's Renee, he says, no, it's Camille. She asks him later, why did you introduce me as Camille? You just making it more confusing. And he said, I was trying to think of a French name, and you remind me of a camellia flower. So the next day, Charlotte finds out that JD is basically unhappily married, which makes everything that's about to happen a little easier to take. So Jerry is disembarking in Rio de Janeiro, but she's going on to Buenos Aires. So they decide to do a little excursion together before she has to go back to the boat. They end up in a car crash and end up having to spend the night in a cabin by themselves, sort of just cuddled up by the fire. He kisses her while she's asleep. On the mouth. He like her. So she don't make it back to the ship, obviously, but she's going to fly to Buenos Aires to meet the ship at the next port. So he's like, well, you can fly out today, or you can fly out in 5 days, which is when the ship is supposed to port. And if you don't know nobody in Buenos Aires to be with by yourself, why you don't just stay here with me? So she doesn't want to say yes, but he says, don't say no, just say, we'll see. She says, we'll see, which of course means yes. So they spend a lot of time together. He tells her he's in love with her and calls her darling, and she says ain't nobody ever called her darling before. So they do it for the rest of the time she's there, but they decide, after this, we not going to see each other ever again. Now, when he first met her, he was lighting cigarettes for her. And now he started doing this thing where he puts both cigarettes in his own mouth and lights them and gives her one, which is like a little way they can kiss without kissing. But when they're at the airport and she's about to leave, they kiss and then kiss and then kiss again, which is a very romantic moment, but it's also because of the motion picture production code. Kisses could only last 3 seconds under the code. So if you wanted to have a really passionate kiss, you had to kiss, stop, kiss again, stop, kiss again. They do it 3 times. If you ever watched the movie Notorious, it's 2.5 minutes of kissing, stopping, and kissing again because of the code. Anyway, back to the movie. So she gets back, and her sister-in-law and niece are stunned because everybody's like, girl, we gonna miss you so much. Everybody loved you on the ship. And this girl has never even been out the house, and everybody is coming off the ship talking to her. Child, she get home and her mama tell her she look ridiculous and try to tell her she got to move downstairs to be with her. She's dismissing all the nurses now that she back to take care of her. She got to grow her hair out. She got to grow her eyebrows out. She got to put back on her old clothes. And Charlotte was about to listen until she got some flowers from a little secret admirer sent to her at the house. And she like, oh, I actually am a baddie, so I'm moving back upstairs. Maybe we can have the nurse stay here for longer because, no, I'm not doing that. Well, they start having a lot better relationship once it becomes clear that her mom is doing a lot of this and not a lot of doing, you know? But her mom also falls down the stairs, maybe throws herself down the stairs, and decides to have the nurses stay, and she just kind of maintains the house. So they have a dinner party. She's the host with a camellia on her dress, and everybody is stunned at how much of a baddie she is, including Elliot Livingston. The Livingston family is a good family. And combined with the Vale family, that would be a rich family. So her mama, even though she's like, I don't know how you pulled him, she approves. I know her mama look mad, but she really not. So they have a little dinner in theater night. You see my girl looking gorgeous. Child, Jerry is there. And they got to act like they don't really remember each other. Clearly they do. And he sneaks and asks her if they can see each other that night. And she says, okay. He tells her he has to leave real quick on business, so he can't see her. She goes and meets him at the train station so they can kiss one last little time. Child, one day her and Elliot are supposed to have lunch, and they very kindly come to an agreement that, you know what, we don't even like each other like that, so let's just not get married. We'll just be cool. So she goes to tell her mama that the engagement is off, and her mom basically tells her that she was a worthless daughter. And she's like, you know what, Mom? You never wanted me, and I don't really like you. It's been a calamity on all sides. But she tries to say, let's not fight. Let's not make this a thing. Her mama dies in the middle of the argument. After she done, the last thing she basically said was, you a worthless daughter, and then she died. So now you know, she got to go back to Dr. Jackwith. This is not... She got to go. Soon as she get there, she run into this little girl. You know who this little girl is? Tina, Jerry's daughter. She says she reminds her a lot of herself, so she take the little girl under her wing, knowing it's Jerry's daughter. And baby girl gets attached to Charlotte. Mind you, the reason the little girl is there is because her mama don't want her. And Jerry feel bad that her mama don't want her, so she sent her there because she depressed. Charlotte start taking this girl on camping trips and all sorts of little extracurricular activities. And then she asked the doctor if she could take this little girl back to her house in Boston. Now, she does tell the doctor that she has a prior relationship with JD. And the doctor like, look, you on probation. If I find out you doing some crazy mess, I'm taking that little girl back. But they just let the little girl go on to her house and stay with her. So she actually ends up on the board of directors at the hospital and gets her own little wing. But Jerry comes to visit and says that even though his daughter is very happy, he's going to take the little girl home because he is tired of taking from Charlotte and never giving her nothing. Charlotte says that she feels like because they both love this little girl, that this is their child. And it's like they had a baby together. And so that makes him feel better about it. But they not going to do nothing. They just going to keep meeting up and taking care of this child together. And he calls it our child. And Charlotte says, thank you. He asks her if she's going to be happy. After he lights 2 cigarettes and gives her one, their little kiss of sorts. She says, don't let's ask for the moon. We have the stars. I'm not going to lie. I was secretly hoping his wife would die. But I mean, I guess this is fine.